What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Stacks. The numbers. Today is Monday the 4th. Technically, in my eyes, this is the first day of December, really, because December 1st was Friday last week, and obviously that just kind of continued the rally that we were in for basically every day of last month. And now we can see, first thing Monday, markets drop down. All of a sudden, all three major indices are red. Yields are up, of course, as we see. 10-year up over 2% right now. 20-year up about 1.33%. They've been bouncing around, but it looks like they want to stay green. And unfortunately, throughout the last month, we did kind of rally more than expected, in my opinion. Also because a lot of those days we had yields up as well, but markets just continued to climb higher. But basically, overall, it looks like they're going to want to keep markets up, but now what I'm concerned with is we had a big rally in November, and usually we rally in January because of the January effect. That's where funds basically kind of reposition their capital and basically buy into stocks that have been better performing than the current positions they have now. So that's why usually the better, more sound, more brand name, the more financially sound brand name stocks that have been doing well are usually the ones that get a new influx of volume to come in during January. That's why it's called the January effect. So obviously your brand name companies, probably like your Amazons, your Walmarts, right? All of these are probably going to see a little bit more of a bump here in January. But I'm just concerned. I just want you guys to stay sharp because, again, if we just went up in November, but technically we should also be going up in January because of new volume, I just don't know if it's feasible that we can be up November, December, and January. So that's why, again, I may have personally mistimed this November rally here. However, I do think that we kind of sell off and just kind of potentially remain flat here throughout this month now in December before we take a next leg higher there going into January with the new volume coming in. But I want to talk about CleanSpark, ticker symbol CLSK, listed here on the NASDAQ. Stock right now, $8.61, 62 cents, up about $1 here, about 13% on the day. And you can see we hit a new high today of $9.37. Now, I believe this is the first time we looked at it, tail end of June. We were in this downward consolidation, right? We mentioned that we could potentially rise out, and you see that, I think I did an update video maybe around like here. We went from like 4.5 to like 5.5. And then the same thing happened here. We started to drop down. Right here is where I did the video. Looks like about the end of August, right? We buy the dips, and then boom, we pop up above 5 and we sell the rips. But we began selling off here in this big downtrend. And of course, I know Bitcoin wasn't really moving during this time. And of course, markets began to sell off as well during September and October. So this drop down here, very understandable. But also at the same time, we spoke about the growth that this company was seeing, not only in its efficiency, but of course in the amount of Bitcoin it was mining. Now, usually, of course, these Bitcoin miners, as you've seen, increase in value when Bitcoin increases in value. So this is kind of what you were seeing here. We had Bitcoin began to rise, and of course, we had a lot of positive anticipation come into the stock here with the company posting earnings. And then even today, after the stock exploded on Friday, what happens? We have Bitcoin up again, CleanSpark up again, along with probably all of the other miners. Honestly, I didn't look, but I'm sure Riot, Mara, all of these miners are up. And this is why a situation like this could be kind of difficult to call, right? Because we just had a big rally, a big explosion. So technically we could say, well, the stock has to, take a breather, relax. It might sell off for a little bit before taking the next leg higher. The problem is that the value of this stock is now directly tied to the underlying security here, which is, again, the value of Bitcoin. So even though this stock just exploded and really just ran like over 100% in the last couple of weeks, now the issue is if Bitcoin is going to continue to keep climbing, then they're going to probably continue to climb the miners as well. So this stock could get to $10 plus if you feel, because I personally don't watch cryptocurrency, but if you feel that Bitcoin is going to continue 44, 45,000, maybe get back up to 50K, right? If we see that there's still bullish momentum in Bitcoin, then technically all of these miners should continue to go higher even if it doesn't make sense, directly in the numbers. But we looked at this stock multiple times here, and, they used to do 10, 20 million a quarter. Then they forecasted growth 40, 50, 60 million a quarter. And that's basically what I said here, because what I said was that if they can even come close to the growth and show that they're kind of on that same trajectory as analyst expectations, then the stock is going to get rewarded. And what you see here is last quarter, again, estimates jump up to almost 46 million. They come in just shy. They're at 45.5 million. Same kind of thing happened this quarter. Now estimates jumped up to, 53.75 million. But the company was able to post 52.5 million. So technically, yes, they did miss on the revenue side. However, again, if we go back a couple of quarters, we can see the company doing, 20, 25 million. Now the company's up to north of 50 million. So again, technically it was a miss on the revenue side. Nice beat on the EPS side. But again, it is the actual proof in the pudding, if you will, right? The company is actually doing what analysts were expecting it to do. So that's why I think the company is being rewarded. Plus, I believe the what was it? The CEO came out and mentioned, look, they mined 666 Bitcoin in November, but also they spoke about the efficiency. Let me see. Let's see if we can find it. 666 in November. 402 sold in November. Right? Made about 15 million just off selling the Bitcoin. Here's some numbers here. Revenue grows 28% year over year. Annual Bitcoin production nearly doubles to over 6,900 Bitcoin. So this is what I'm saying. So now, if the production of Bitcoin is increasing at this rate, but at the same time the value of Bitcoin is increasing as well, then basically, technically, again, nothing's guaranteed, but technically, in my opinion, based off that, the stock is just going to go higher. It's really that simple. But it spoke about the efficiency as well. And I'm trying to find it here. Our hash rate growth year over year has been exceptional, highlighting our commitment to not just growing, but also scaling efficiently. We achieved a remarkable milestone this year by surpassing a total hash rate of 10 exahashes per second, and that hash rate is among the most efficient in the industry. So again, this is why I feel, in my opinion, the company is being rewarded, because they said that they were going to increase production while increasing the efficiency as well. And again, at the time, if we go back, 3, 4, 5 months ago, sounded like a pipe dream, right? And what do I always say when these companies lay out their projections? Of course they're going to forecast bigger and better things. What company is going to say everything sucks, production's going to go down, right? Think about it. What company is really going to say that? But also on the flip side, they forecasted bigger and better things, and now they're actually starting to show that they could do it. So now again, they increased their efficiency, revenue is increasing, the value of Bitcoin is increasing, which is just making the whole value of the business increase. And now we're up here, new highs of 937, right? So this is why, again, I know it's hard. I do understand it's difficult, but this is why I say to look at the fundamentals, in my opinion, because again, I know people love their technicals, and they want to try to time some pops and some drops to immediately make phenomenal returns within a day or two. And of course, it could work, right? But what we learn is if it doesn't work, you can take some serious losses almost immediately and just kind of now backtrack to where you were maybe a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, right? So this is why following and utilizing the quote-unquote Buffett method, in my opinion anyway, really seems like the way to go. And again, even on this rally here, even if you liquidated some of your position on these pops here, took some profits just to reposition as it came back down, This is what I mean. When we looked at the numbers, I felt anyway, in my opinion, that down here in the low fours, even here in the mid fours, and then again, it breaks four and it drops to 370, 360. You guys need to know that if a company is fundamentally sound and it has these types of sell-offs, you have to step in. That is when you accumulate and build your position. Because I promise you, anyone who bought this stock at 430 and then watched it drop to 3.5 and was bitching is not bitching anymore now because the stock's up at $9 and it's hitting new highs. You understand what I'm saying? And I have preached this time and time again on a lot of stocks that we looked at. If it goes down in the immediate short term, you're not going to view it as a huge negative because you have very high conviction that it is going to go up in the longer term. And if you buy a stock here at 4 and we feel it's supposed to be at 7, hypothetically, well, if it goes from 4 to 3, all they're doing is giving you a $7 stock that you bought for 4 that you can now buy more for 3. So that's why, again, this is the issue. We're seeing the same thing happen with STEM Inc. All of a sudden, the stock started selling off, hitting new lows. They're beating the crap out of it. Now the stock has absolutely raged. It's back up to a trend line. It's at like 360 and change. Right? So the whole time it was dropping 280, 270. Everyone's bitching in the short term. Where's the bottom? What's going to happen? What should I do? Should I sell? No, none of that. We basically knew, we had high conviction that we're dealing with the stock that is easily $5, $6, $7. And yeah, you may have started to buy at 385, 365, 330, and now it's at 260. But again, you're basically buying a $5, $6 stock that you started to buy at 3.5 that you could have added to at 2.5. And the big problem here is, again, we don't know how these stocks are going to look and perform over the next 12 to 24 months. But you may turn around now with a situation like CleanSpark and say, wow, look at that. It was down to 340 and, it looks like it's never going to go back down to that level. I knew I should have bought more. Right? That's the tale as old as time. That's what everyone says. And again, basically the same thing with STEM. Stock started selling off, hitting new lows. People got worried. What should I do? And now, for all you know, the stock may never dip down to that level there in the 2s again. I mean, obviously, it can and it might, but you understand what I'm saying here. This is why you have to take the opportunities where you get them. But CleanSpark, we looked at the balance sheet. We had assets significantly outweighing liabilities. And again, the company was forecasting bigger and better growth there in the revenue numbers. So that's why I basically said, in my opinion, I really liked it. And as we see, we turned out to make this call. This one was a correct call here. But looking here on the daily, we can see, look at the RSI up here on the daily, up to 83 1/3. But again, we were north of 70, but we took another leg higher today because, again, the value of Bitcoin went up. So this is why it's a little bit of a difficult situation here. And something like looking at the Bollinger Bands or even the resistance levels of something like CleanSpark may not give you the correct path of what to do next. Because, again, if Bitcoin is going to continue to climb higher, then they can easily just continue to climb up all of the miners with it as well. MACD has absolutely exploded, as we see, almost a straight line up. So only time is going to tell in the next day or two if Bitcoin takes a breather. Obviously, this stock's going to pull back as well. But we can also see back to the 200-day moving average of 905. Obviously hit a high today of 937. Now we pulled back. We're sitting here at 880, but again, with this big explosion, the MACD has crossed to the upside there on the weekly. And even though the stock sold off, again, you can see how stable it has bounced and stayed above that 50-day moving average. This is what I mean. When you see a situation with stability like this, you need to know that you have to buy those dips. And again, unfortunately, that's just going to take more time and more experience for you. But again, you shouldn't sit there and say, I missed out on it. It went from 4 to 9. Listen, we could do that all day, every day. We could look at situations that we missed out on. What you need to understand is the why. And I preach this constantly. You need to understand why this son of a bitch just went from 4 to new highs of 937. And if you understand the why, all you have to do is implement that strategy to different securities and you'll be fine. Buffett method for the win, baby. For the win. Again, is it slow? Is it steady? Is it boring? Random ad. Is it again like less exciting than trading? Are you making less money longer instead of making more money faster? Yeah, absolutely. Yes to all of those things. However, I guarantee we find a trader who's getting beaten up right now, and we tell him, hey, man, you could have just bought the stock at 4 and sold shares at 9. And just buying shares, you could have made over 100%. Forget about if you bought options. This is what I'm saying. We look for good, sound stocks that sell off that we can buy at discounts. And again, you may want to bash it. You may want to bash the strategy, but just remember, you are bashing the strategy of the most successful investor in the country. Right? Just keep that in mind. Because again, we can all talk a lot of smack on our Reddit forums and in Discord trading servers, right? Oh, I knew this was going to go up. My option's up 200%. Blah, blah, blah. I'm the best. Fine. Fair enough. But no matter what you tell me, if Warren Buffett called you right now and said you should do this, this, and this, I'm looking at this stock, I'm going to buy it at this price, you and I both know you'd probably listen to him, right? Let's call it like it is. Because for you not to listen to him would be immensely foolish. We could look at the pivot points real quick, but again, we're based on Bitcoin here. We can see our next resistance level 1005, so we could potentially hit double digits before rejecting again. Switching over here on the weekly, and we can see we're right at this, right near this second resistance level here of 876, currently above it. So this is why, again, in some of the technicals we do look bullish. In other technicals we do potentially look bearish, like we should start selling off. However, if we're now in the Bitcoin rally going into the end of the year and we're going to consistently start climbing now, obviously this stock is probably easily going to get to that $10 plus mark and hit double digits, but only time will tell. But anyway, I know I went off on a tangent. I wanted to do a quick, 5-minute update, and of course it's probably like a 20+ minute video, so I sincerely apologize for that. If you're still here, thanks. I appreciate you hanging on and listening to me for a little bit, but I'm going to end it there. So once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand markets are very rocky. They're very uncertain. They're volatile. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thank you so much for stopping by. I want you guys to have a good day.